In the early morning of July 1st at Gettysburg, Reynolds' First Corps is coming up the Emmitsburg Road as Buford's cavalry is alarmed to see the oncoming Confederates with a cavalry escort. Towards 9 o'clock, Buford is forced to abandon defending Gettysburg, and Reynolds prepares to defend Cemetery Hill.
The Confederate cavalry tails the Union cavalry. Heth's division occupies Seminary Ridge. Later that morning, Stuart's cavalry arrives. Reynolds stretches First Corps out into a long, thin line, as Howard's 11th Corps arrives to strengthen Reynolds' left. A.P. Hill has Heth's division occupy Seminary Ridge, as Pender's division arrives west of Gettysburg. Around noon, the rest of Howard's Corps arrives, as Reynolds strengthens his line, just as Stuart strikes at the Union right. A.P. Hill's Corps comes alive as Lee rides up and joins him on Seminary Ridge. And Ewell's Corps arrives north of Gettysburg. As Reynolds is reacting to this surprise, Pleasanton's cavalry arrives to save the Union right. Buford's cavalry is overwhelmed by the Southern force. Thanks to their breech loaders, Buford's men are able to escape through the door that Reynolds has held open for them. Pender attacks Cemetery Hill. Reynolds' thin line begins to crack. It's early afternoon, and Reynolds means to hold Cemetery Hill. A.P. Hill places his artillery on Seminary Ridge and extends his line. Pleasanton has Buford hold and moves to flank Stuart. Howard strengthens the Union line. Ewell anchors A.P. Hill's left flank, while Stuart suspects something is up and sends Hampton to investigate. Reynolds attempts to recapture Cemetery Hill. The fighting is desperate, but the Confederates are thrown back. In the late afternoon, Reynolds regroups. He really wants to unpack his bags and rally his troops. But does he dare? He feels the Southern assault is about to hit, and if his line collapses, the battle is lost. The day is lost. The bags remain unpacked. Pleasanton's horse artillery opens up in the Southern cav coming through the woods and chases them off. Pleasanton forms up his line and Howard holds. Stuart's cavalry recovers, and he too forms up his line. A.P. Hill's artillery is into position and begins to shell the Union troops on Cemetery Hill. Heth's division regroups and assaults the hill as Ewell opens the assault on Reynolds' right. Buford's cavalry delays Rhodes' assault and falls back. A.P. Hill's assault on Cemetery Hill. The South recaptures Cemetery Hill. In the early evening, Stuart's cavalry attacks as Howard stiffens the Union line. Pleasanton's artillery opens up on Stuart's cav, but to no visible effect. And now Ewell's assault begins in earnest. Reynolds pulls his exhausted troops back and unpacks bags as he plugs the gap with his remaining fresh troops. Sickles' Corps enters on the Jonestown Road to help shore up the Union line, while Slocum's Corps arrives along the Baltimore Pike. Pender's artillery continually bombards the Union line. Not without effect. Pender's fresh division assaults the Union line as A.P. Hill's remaining troops arrive behind Ewell's remaining troops along the Chambersburg Pike. Again, Buford's cavalry hold up the southern advance and then fall back. A.P. Hill's assault on Howard's Corps. Howard's men put up a fight, but A.P. Hill's advance is inexorable, and they fall back. It's late in the evening, and the day is drawing to an end. Howard rallies his troops and digs in a little farther back. A.P. Hill's artillery opens up on the Union line, driving back some of Howard's men. Meanwhile, his troops press forward, and his remaining elements arrive just west of McPherson Ridge. Ewell doesn't want to miss out on all the fun that A.P. Hill's troops are having, so his troops attack also. Pleasanton pulls Buford's exhausted cavalry off the line to rest and refit while he sets up his position for the night and his horse artillery fires one last time, disrupting Stuart's cavalry. Reynolds rallies his troops, pulls his fresh troops back, while Sickles' Corps supports Howard. Stuart's artillery fires at the Union artillery, driving it off. And this exposes the Union cavalry to his assaults. Stuart's flank attack on the far Union right. And this greatly disrupts the Union right. Ewell's attack on the Baltimore pike. Slocum's troops give worse than they get. A.P. Hill's assault in the center. The southern attack falters and is called off. And now we have the night turn. In this scenario, the Union has the option of simply falling back to Pipe Creek. However, I believe that having held this long and done this well, the Union will not retreat. Also, Gettysburg is firmly in Southern hands. This would not play well in the Northern press. The call will go out to free Gettysburg. In the evening, Lee decides to hold here. He believes at this point the North will attack him to drive him away from Gettysburg. He'll be fighting a defensive battle. This is more to his liking. In the evening, both sides recover, reinforce, and dress their lines. Lee has a plan. The Southern line will hold, let the North wear itself out on attacks, and then Longstreet will launch an attack and break the Union Army. Slocum's corps rallies. The artillery is brought around the rear. Longstreet deploys, and in the rear of his van is the artillery. Reynolds fortifies around his bag. Stuart rallies, and his artillery resumes the duel, driving back the Union artillery. Pleasanton sets up a new line. Ewell dresses his line. Hancock moves to deploy on the Union left. Sykes' corps arrives. The Union line is set so far back that there's some congestion on the Baltimore pike. After nights spent shifting and moving around, A.P. Hill is finally able to start rallying his worn troops. And his artillery opens up on the Union line. And Sickles' corps receives the abuse. As the sun rises in the sky and the morning wears on, both armies continue to prepare. In the late morning, all is still in a no man's land between the two armies. Through midday, the action continues. It's early afternoon, and both armies continue to gaze at each other. Sykes continues west with his 5th Corps. Pickett's division arrives and races to join Longstreet's corps on the Confederate left. In the high heat of the mid-afternoon, no one wants to be fighting in this heat, but this waiting is almost as bad. And finally, Sedgwick's corps arrives. It's the last Union reinforcement. It's early evening, and Meade puts the finishing touches on his line. And the Union 6th Corps relieves Pleasanton's cavalry. And now the troops prepare to spend another evening in the presence of the enemy. Day 3 opens with a massive bombardment from the Union. A.P. Hill's line reels under the bombardment. Sykes' 5th Corps charges forward. Hancock's 2nd Corps advances with them. Sickles and Howard also drive forward. A.P. Hill recoils from the attack, rallies his troops, and prepares to hold on. The Union assault on the Confederate right. When the smoke clears, the Southern bags are exposed, and both sides scramble to react. Hancock presses forward. Reynolds advances his troops forward to protect the Union bags. In the crisis, the Southern command rises to the challenge. A.P. Hill moves to protect the bags. The Union responds. Ewell's corps explodes forward. Longstreet supports Ewell. Sickles supports Howard. Meade unpacks more Union bags. Combat erupts on the line. Again, the Southern bags are exposed. It's late morning. Sykes' men recover first and contact the bags. Slocum moves to protect the Union bags. Howard will not give and drives forward. A.P. Hill is forced to pack up his bags and retreat. Ewell has no choice but to follow Hill
and sounds the retreat. Stewart expands to cover the retreat. Reynolds rallies his corps and prepares to follow. Sedgwick's 6th Corps advances. Pleasanton's cavalry advances. Hancock rallies Caldwell's division as his remaining corps hurries the Confederates along. There you have it, noon of the 3rd day, and Lee's army is in full retreat. His retreat recovered, Longstreet falls back. This has been a very good game.